Alrighty, Rebecca, it has been lovely chatting with you off camera here.
Thank you.
We yeah, we spoke a little bit about the role and the duties that it entails. Now, Rebecca, I want to go ahead and kind of set the standard here for the interview. I have your resume pulled up and I want to highlight a little bit of your key titles that you worked in. So you were formerly as a bilingual administrative assistant. You also worked as a practice assistant as well as a medical secretary, and again, administrative assistant. You've done customer service as well. So overall, I would say you have, or about 10 plus years in customer service in a few different industries. Now,
Yep.
I will give you the mic, Rebecca, so you can highlight your key skills and your professional experience. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so it is mostly medical administration. So it's definitely a lot of patients and RXs, dealing with a lot of doctors and a lot of interpersonal communication with different departments. So let's say specifically Columbia doctors, I work in the ENT department, so that's ear, nose, throat, or otolaryngology. And I still had to work with, let's say, plastics sometimes to mesh schedules together, or let's say another doctor that needed the OR at the same time. So I'm definitely good with the scheduling and communication. I worked with a lot of systems like Microsoft, definitely Word, Excel. I'm a spreadsheet fiend. I love spreadsheets because I love organization. I don't like to have anything up in the air. As far as at home, I worked with Jabber because I did have a few at home positions where I had to communicate with patients or clients. So I did Jabber a lot. I did a lot of emails, chat. I've also worked with Salesforce at .go when it was first, getting popular. So I had worked out a lot of kinks with them, and a lot more systems that I can go down the list. There's
Yeah,
tons.
absolutely. That was a great introduction to what you've done in the past as far as your professional experience. Now, as we spoke about, I mentioned that this role is going to require for my candidate to be bilingual, which you mentioned you are, correct?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Have you, and previously you worked in a bilingual customer service role. Was that via email communications, chat, in person? Tell me a little bit about that communication.
So I want to say the vast majority of my jobs have been bilingual, whether in person or email, on the phone. I've done all of them.
Amazing. And you work in a few medical facilities. So walk me through your process with handling new patients.
Okay, so first of all, we do have to follow standards. We have to make sure that that's first and foremost all the time. Depending on, let's say, the environment. So, like, let's say in the office, correct? We'd have to make sure that there's really no one in the vicinity directly, right? Being careful with sensitive information. First name is okay, but like maybe not so loud in the last names, date of births. Um, if there's, let's say, some kind of documentation that I need on the computer, we have to make sure, obviously, that no one's in the vicinity, closing it out or disposing of it correctly, just to make sure that their information is safe and only for my eyes or whoever's eyes are appropriate to see them.
Absolutely. And with entering a new patient into the system, have you ever caught an error perhaps in documentation, and what did you do to correct that?
I, you know what? There was a time at Columbia Doctors I was working with Epic, specifically the Epic system.
Mhm.
Um, they were immigrants, but they had been here for quite a while. She came in with her ear ringing and she was in pain and all this stuff. So she came to her things, and they were from out of the country. So I did have to go through a few channels to get. I put it in the system, but there were certain things that they needed insurance wise and all this stuff. So I did have to help her call her Medicaid up, get her set up with that, get her co-payments explained to her and all these things. But at the end of the day, she was seen and she didn't get a bill.
Oh,
But it realistically, a lot of the times now they're putting in their own information. But that was really the only time that I can recall where I might have had an issue
okay.
onboarding, a client.
Okay,
working.
but you were able to correct that ultimately and
Yes.
service the patient. That's
Mhm.
amazing. Now, in those particular roles, especially in the role that you applied to, you're going to be having to do a lot of multitasking, right? A lot of inbound calls, maybe perhaps outbound calls. You're going to have your walk-ins. You're going to have to be entering data, following up. So, tell me, what is your method to maintaining organized?
Well, first of all, we have to prioritize, right? So if I have something that I need done by the end of the day and I have a client walking in, I can put that on hold for a second and attend to the client that's walking in. I do like appointments. You know, if I know I have a certain amount of clients to call that day, maybe speak with a coworker and say, listen, I have X, Y, and Z amount of clients. How many do you have today? Can we switch off? You can deal with the people walking in and I can make my calls. Well, you know, vice versa. So a lot of communication and a lot of organization,
Absolutely.
definitely.
That sounds amazing. A lot of teamwork that comes to play in
Yeah.
a role such as this. Now, in your next role, what are you looking for out of the company as far as the culture?
Um, I don't mind a family, like, you know, like a family oriented culture, right? So like we don't have to know each other's favorite colors, but you know, I don't mind knowing how you like to work, how I like to work, so that you know, if I know you like a little bit quieter on this side, make sure I'm quiet when you're around, or make sure I'm a little bit, you know. Or if there's some people that are more talkative. I like to talk. I don't mind, you know. We can chat in between calls and just
Mhm.
take notes and you know, learn off of each other. So a very, you know,
Absolutely.
a close knit.
Yeah. Like a family environment is what you're looking for,
Hmm.
that kind of culture. Well, that sounds amazing. And Rebecca, when are you looking to start a new role?
I can start next week.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds amazing, Rebecca. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our interview. Don't hang up on me quite yet. I want to continue chatting with you really quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.